Hello and welcome to Politics on Sunday. I am Femi Akonde. Today our conversation will be on the 10th National Assembly that will be inaugurated in June this year. Already the politics have started about who gets what, when, and how, who will become the President of the Senate and who will become the Speaker of the House of Representatives. Some people say the ball is in the court of the All Progressives Congress, while others say the lawmakers should be allowed to choose who leads them. Well, today, to give us a good perspective into our topic is Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan, an honorable member. He represented Basa Jos Federal Constituency from 2003 to 2007. That is the 5th National Assembly. Thank you and welcome to the program, sir.
Thank you very much for having me.
Yes, the 10th Assembly, probably it's going to be the most diverse in Nigeria's democratic history. We have about 8 political parties represented in that 10th Assembly. What kind of assembly, how vibrant do you think that National Assembly will be from a perspective of somebody who is also a parliamentarian?
Well, that's a very interesting question. We expect it to be, it should ordinarily be vibrant. But you see, sometimes when you have such a plurality, it could lead to chaos. And often the chaos is misconstrued by so many people who don't understand how the legislature really works to be vibrancy. And that's not vibrancy. But yes, of course, now that we have a very plural National Assembly, few parties, about 8 parties, as you have rightly said, we expect it to be really vibrant. It will not be considerably different from the previous assemblies, from the 9th, from the 8th, especially the 9th Assembly. The 9th Assembly has been really vibrant. It may not have been very, very loud, but I think they have achieved a lot in the past 4 years. So we expect it to be really, really vibrant. But I will also add that we expect a lot of chaos as well. I mean, with the diversity that is coming. And given the fact that in the House of Representatives, about 75% of members are new. Yeah. So there's such a high turnover. Yeah. Including the Senate. Yeah, there is in both chambers. So in the National Assembly, there's so much, there's a high turnover, which is rather unfortunate, which is not good for our democracy, that is quite nascent. But of course, that's the wish of the people. Yeah. Yes, exactly. So it will be vibrant. And believe me, it will be chaotic.
And it would also not be quite easy for the ruling All Progressives Congress. The eyes may not just carry the day at the end of the day.
At the end of the day, yes. Yeah. Well, that is what it is expected. That is what it seems. But you see, the legislature is such an interesting arm of government. The people or the representatives, the senators as well as members of the House of Representatives, they are so closely related, they are so closely knit that that's why you see there's not much of rancor. They seem to have, by the time you get into the chambers, you will find out that you all have a common interest. What is that common interest? Common interest is your functions as prescribed by the Constitution of the Federal Republic, to make laws for the good of the people of Nigeria. And you will find out very, very easily and very soon that everyone in the chamber, either the Senate or the House, is actually there for the same purpose. So there's really no reason. And you're all together. And because there's such a singularity of purpose, you'll find yourselves working together in no time, that the party differences may not really matter unless on fundamental issues that border around philosophy. And if the party meddles around. But of course, there is considerable level of differences in terms of philosophy this time around, particularly between the 2 dominant parties, the APC, PDP, and the new ones. especially the new Labour Party, with a very loud followership, very small, not very large, but considerably loud. So we will expect some vibrancy, some opposition.
Well, let's go to the crux of our discussion now. Who should be Senate President? From the East, we have contenders. We have Senator Osita Izunaso. We have Senator Orji Uzor-Kalu, who has also thrown his hat in the ring. From the Northwest, we have Senator Barau Jibrin. From the North Central, we have Senator Sani Musa, who we hear is also aspiring to occupy that seat. You know, and there are some other contenders here and there. But looking at the area of aspirants we have for that office now, who is most qualified? Or who should the cap fit, or who does the cap fit?
I think, let me, first of all, which will give a perspective or a context to your question, is if we find out what the rules are, especially in the Senate. The Senate standing orders of 2011 as amended, Section 3, subsection 2, 1, A and B, state very clearly that ranking is what is required. And that is Section 3, 2A, that it shall, while considering the election of the two presiding officers, that is the Senate President and the Deputy, ranking takes precedence over anything. And then it defines ranking, that is Section 3, 2B, defines ranking as, first of all, a returning senator is considered before any other senator. And in the event where there is no returning senator, you will have to look for someone who had been in the House of Representatives, now in the Senate, to consider next, and then consider a new senator. So by the rules of the Senate, ranking really matters. And from the definition, lawyers have interpreted the orders to mean that even if you had previously been a senator, but left, and then back again, after a period of maybe 2 sessions or 1 session, and then you are back, you lose ranking. So a returning senator who was there in the 9th Senate and now is coming, is considered before a returning senator who was here during the 8th Senate but missed the 9th Senate.
That is the interpretation of some lawyers.
Isn't
that unfair? Because you know he still bears the title of senator.
Absolutely.
Even after leaving the parliament.
It's not unfair. Returning, because that means he has lost some experience. He has lost. So clearly, from my definition, the senators, particularly the major contender from the South, Godswill Akpabio, I have nothing against him. Yes, I think he loses ranking compared to other senators that are returning, that are still in the 9th National Assembly. But perhaps even more important than that, you see, when selecting the leadership of the National Assembly, I think 2 things are naturally considered, even in bigger, larger, more mature democracies such as the United States of America. You find out that 1, legality is considered. 2, political. The decision must be influenced by political reasons, meaning that the party must consider the zone that gives it more votes, or that is likely to bring it back into power. And that is the natural zone that should take the Senate presidency, in my opinion, is the Northwest. Because the Northwest gave the president-elect, Asiwaju Bola Ahmed Tinubu, more votes than any other zone. And that is why I feel that to give them a sense of belonging, don't forget that Nigerians, and particularly the North, and especially the Northwest, voted for Asiwaju because of his outstanding record in Lagos. And he was able to achieve that because he had 2 straight terms. We would not want the North is looking forward to, because North is really backward. and is looking for leadership such as that of Aswajus, so that the North, as well as Nigeria, the whole of Nigeria, we can all fulfill our national aspirations. So he can only do that with 2 terms, reasonably, in my opinion. So would you really rather have someone who would give you 40,000 votes, or someone who would give you 4, 5, 3 million votes?
Should it be about winning the votes or strengthening democracy? Because you know the critical role the legislature plays in Nigeria's in the country's democratic structure.
It is strengthening our democracy. You have to have political considerations. Of course, political considerations. After that, you now look at competence. And the most competent, in my opinion, the most competent in the present Senate, those that have expressed their ambition to be Senate, that are aspiring to the Senate presidency, the most qualified is easily Senator Barrow.
Okay, and he's from Kano.
He's from Kano State.
But the APC did not win Kano. I know they got a considerable number of votes, but they didn't get the victory.
They didn't get the victory, but it's sufficient enough to get victory.
They're not getting the victory. That's a dent.
Well, it isn't. But if you look at the Northwest generally,
they didn't get the votes in Katsina. They didn't get victory in Katsina as well.
But they got sufficient votes to make sure that he gets the majority that he needed.
So if you look at the North Central now, because the North Central will tell you that yes, we gave the victory. They got victory in Niger State, they got victory in Kogi State, they got victory in Kebbi State. So the North Central, an aspirant from North Central will also as well feel entitled.
Look at the numbers. What is comparatively, what is North Central offering to the APC compared to the Northwest? So one might argue that, you see, there are so many things that happened. This particular set of elections came with a lot of peculiarities, with a lot of baggage. Nobody expected that our president-elect was going to lose Lagos. Nobody expected, but that didn't stop him. It was just 10,000 votes. You couldn't say that he didn't win Lagos. So the number of votes really matters. Number really matters, and then competence. Barrow was actually a member of House of Reps in the 4th Assembly, and he is now a 3rd term senator. He has held very, very sensitive and very, very competitive committees, very demanding, very tenuous committees. The most recent is appropriation. And we all know what the Committee on Appropriations really means.
A juicy committee.
Not juicy, because as a parliamentarian, I know that it is not really juicy. It sounds juicy because it deals with all the monies that we spend in the economy. Yes, it sounds so, but it's a very tasking, it's a very demanding job. You hardly have a private time. You are always and constantly working for the economy.
Well, and to his credit, the National Assembly has been able to maintain a January to December budget cycle.
Yes. To his credit, to be honest, on the leadership, of course. Yeah. But experience really matters, and I think he is really competent. What I would, if I were asked by my party for an honest, candid, and politically realistic opinion, I would ask my party to consider zoning the seat of the Senate presidency to the Northwest for 3 reasons. One, amongst all the contenders, in my opinion, and you can fact check it and see, the most competent, and I think, and the most loved by people, because one of the traits of a good leader is humility. That is one of the hallmarks, admirable hallmarks of Senator Barrow Jibril. His humility has enabled him, has endeared him to present senators and new senators and to Nigerians generally. So his humility will enable him lead the National Assembly. As the chairman of the National Assembly, his humility would give him an edge over other contenders.
Yeah, but these recommendations you're making should be, I think asking your party to look at all of these qualities and features you've stated, to use them as a yardstick, your party.
Absolutely.
But what of the lawmakers? There's also this argument. Some lawmakers are saying that, see, allow us to choose who leads us, not the party to decide for us.
No, the party can decide the zone, but the party may not necessarily, should be interested, but not interfere. The president-elect should be interested, but not interfere in the election.
By zoning is also interference, because you're already telling lawmakers, excluding some people from the contest and telling lawmakers how to vote and kind of asking them to vote in a particular direction.
Yes, but we have all come to, there are certain occurrences in our polity that we have all come to accept as a norm, as a tradition now, as a culture. So zoning now is part of our political culture, and acceptable and accepted.
I think the 8th National Assembly, that didn't happen. The lawmakers chose who would lead or who would be their principal officers. They made that decision themselves, not being teleguided by the party.
Well, I wouldn't say the entire lawmakers. I mean, of course, it was perfectly legal what they did. Very chaotic, very contentious, yes. But you can see that the leadership emerged not with the complete vote of the leading party then. There was an alliance between the minority party and the leading party, the APC, and they were able to get the leadership against the wish of the party. But the fact that it didn't happen subsequently in 2019 showed that the National Assembly learned its lessons. The party also learned its lessons. Let me quickly and very importantly make a reference to why I say party as well as the presidency should be interested but not necessarily interfere with the selection or election of the presiding officers or the leadership of the National Assembly. I'll give you a very good example. In the United States, when just the just concluded midterm elections, so the Republicans take over control of the House of Representatives. The natural leader was the highest ranking. The natural person that was expected to emerge as the Speaker of the House, no matter how contentious it was Kevin McCarthy, because of the ranking. That is how it works. And the president was also interested in what happened in the Senate. Mitch McConnell continued as the leader. And then also, let me tell you, let me also make a reference to the United States with regards to political expediency or conveniences or purposes. The Republican Party was deliberate, or Joe Biden in particular was deliberate in picking Kamala Harris. Yeah. He was deliberate because he had consistently said that the black community had his back. He would always have their back as well. So it was a case of give and take. So because his strongest base support and consistent base support is the black community. So rewarding them, not to the exclusion of other Americans, because the rules are there. Nobody is excluded. But this is politics. And he nominated a black woman to be his running mate. These are things that you consider when you make such decisions, very important decisions. You look at those that are loyal to you, those that give you the votes. Of course, the rules, that does not mean that others are excluded. You see, we bring ethnicity, region, when it is convenient for us. Some occurrences will continue to be with us in Nigeria. Some are new. A very good example is the fact that we see a Muslim emerge as president and a Muslim from the north as vice president. This is an occurrence that will be with us for the rest of the history of Nigeria. And we may end up one day having a Christian president and vice. This is how Nigeria is wired. Why do I say so? Because if you say you cannot have a Muslim from the south, then you're excluding, you are actually disenfranchising a Muslim, maybe from the north, southwest, because of the considerable number of Muslims, from contesting. You're telling me that, okay, after Aswaju, or even Aswaji himself, shouldn't have contested? This is disenfranchisement. And that is why religion has got nothing to do with governance. It doesn't. Nigeria is a secular state.
Yeah, it's good you're saying this, because another argument a lot of people are advancing
Yeah.
out there is we can't have a Muslim president, a Muslim vice president. There's a need for balance and diversity, that it should also be reflected in leadership. That so it's just good for a Christian. Some people are even saying from the south. Or from the south, so there's also that argument about getting somebody from the southeast to calm the agitations and all frayed nerves from that region, just for balance, peace, equity, and justice.
These agitations are simply symbolic, and they are just fear of the unknown. They are constitutionally immaterial, because our constitution is framed in such a way that it gives every single shade of opinion the right to representation. Every constituency, 360, has a representative in the National Assembly. Every senatorial district, every state has a representation in the federal executive. The system makes it impossible to what's the popular word that we use, or the phrase that we use, marginalize. The Constitution makes it legally, even politically, impossible to marginalize anyone. If you marginalize anyone, it's because your representative has decided to marginalize you. So these are occurrences that will continue to happen in Nigeria, that we must brace up and be prepared to accept as our part of our political culture. There's just nothing wrong, because Asiraji Bola Ahmed Tinubu cannot and will not be the last Muslim that will come from the southwest wanting to be president. One day you will have a Christian from the north wanting to be president. And he may eventually go for a southern, not necessarily in APC, in any other party, and he may go for a southeastern or southern running mate, which would naturally mean that would be a Christian.
Let's talk about the candidates that you feel the cap will fit, Senator Barau Jibril. Let's talk about his temperament, character, competence, and all of that, because the job of a Senate president, or the president of the Senate, is also a very serious one. Yes. You know that the Senate, for instance, if you look at issues in the country, the Senate has been blamed for always approving all of Mr. President's requests to borrow money and all of that, and it has caused so much outcry about Nigeria's rising debt profile. There are also so many issues that have been put on the doorstep of the Senate, especially the 9th Assembly, and people are hoping moving into the 10th Assembly we would see a difference. Can this man make a difference?
I think he can, and I'm very, very happy that you mentioned temperament. And I did allude to that earlier on, that his humility is one of his traits. He is not only his humility, but his experience. He knows so much about the workings of the National Assembly. So he would be a very good chairman of the National Assembly, because the Senate President is the chairman of the National Assembly. So temperament, very, very important. He has got the temperament. The EQ, he is emotionally intelligent. Everyone would tell you that. These are some of the things that are required for you to successfully run a plural and diverse institution such as the National Assembly. I think he possesses all the qualities that it takes to manage such a diversity. He knows it all.
Yeah. The president-elect was once a senator, including the vice president-elect, who is also who is currently a member of the National Assembly, a senator from Borno State. What would these experience, how would their experience as parliamentarians, how do you think this will play out in determining the headship of the National Assembly?
That means that we could have a very smooth transition. We could have a very smooth emergence of the leadership of the National Assembly, because they know the workings. They know they had all been senators. So they know how the legislature works, as well as they know their constraints, as well as their limitations constitutionally. And I'm very, very sure they know and they would respect the doctrine of separation of powers. That means that they could run a very smooth government without a lot of rancor. That is what you are seeing in Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, both former senators, despite this stiff opposition and very, very strong opposition they are able to navigate and pass I think it must be one of the most important appropriations bill of Joe Biden. I mean, it was unprecedented. Nobody thought that they were going to pass that bill, and that bill sailed through. That was owed to his experience as a senator, one of the longest serving senators. So the combination of Asiwaju and Kashim would be an excellent combination. What we require now is to have very good and experienced leadership from the National Assembly to complement and help them.
How popular is he among his colleagues, because they are the ones that will vote, not just the APC now, because he also needs to reach out to people in the PDP, the Labour Party, the Social Democratic Party, YPP. How popular is he and how acceptable is he among?
He is from the findings, from independent findings, from journalists, from political activists and opinion leaders. You will find out that he is one of the most amiable senators. His skill came to play at the beginning of the 9th Assembly. Ahmed Law, who had lost in 2015, was nominated by the same Barrow Jibrin, and he managed his campaign. So he managed that success very, very well. And we expect him to do nothing less, perhaps even better, should he become, and we hope that, God willing, he will be the next chairman of the National Assembly, which means the president of the Senate.
Well, that's our conversation with Honorable Shehu Saleh Hassan, talking about the 10th National Assembly and who should be the chairman of the National Assembly. That is the president of the Senate. His candidate is Senator Barrow Jibrin. Well, we'll see how that plays out. Thank you for your time on the program. My name is Femi Akonde. See you next time.